Hello, everyone, and welcome to Age of Geek. Age of Geek Media, the pod. Have we?
Which is it's
Age
just
of Geek
Age of
Media,
Geek
the
podcast.
podcast. Age of Geek
No,
podcast.
it doesn't work. Age of Geek Media, the podcast.
The Age of Geek, the podcast of the media.
Now we're sounding too much like High School Musical, the series.
Hey,
the
some
podcast
people
or
in
something.
our media podcast group like that show, so you be careful.
I didn't say anything bad about
Be
this
careful.
show.
See, my first thought went to Spaceballs with Spaceballs, the lunchbox, and Spaceballs, the this
Yeah.
and the that.
Yeah, there you go. So we could be Age of Geek Media, the podcast, and Age of Geek Media.
I love the contrast there of like High School Musical, the musical, which is like kids these days, and then Spaceballs, which is before I was born. So,
Steph, I think it was.
Was it? When was it? When did it come out?
I'll look that up.
Okay, look that up.
Why don't you introduce our guest while I look that up, Steph?
Okay. Yes, we're so excited to have our guest with us today. One of our new podcast members, Branden. We are going to talk. Well, okay, so we're going to talk about kids stuff, kids shows specifically, and then at the end of the show, Branden's going to talk to us about his new show, which we are stoked about. So, when did it come out, Jake?
1987. So that was definitely before you were born, but just barely after I was born. Like barely by years. Okay, so
That's definitely not a kid's show.
yeah,
Bring
I
it
wasn't
back
watching it when
around.
it came out. My parents didn't take me to go see it when it came out.
That said, I watched it when I was a kid.
Yeah,
That is. It had what? Rick Moranis in it?
it did. He played Dark Helmet.
Is he still alive?
Yes, Rick Moranis is still alive. So Rick Moranis is one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. Just has nothing to do with our episode.
No,
but
that's how our shows go, though.
He stepped away from being in the limelight. He was a big star, and he stepped away from all of that because he wanted to spend more time with his family and raise his family. And so he kind of gave a lot of that up, even though he was really popular. So
I can admire that.
We could talk about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids if that makes it a better segue for you for
kids stuff. That's a fantastic kids show. Although I do think as a kid I liked Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves more.
Okay, well that's just blasphemy, but it's fine. It's fine.
Or the Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves Disney experience, also top notch.
Like the one at the park.
Yes.
The 4D movie experience.
It was great. No, but we are excited to talk about kids shows. This episode was inspired by the drop of everyone's favorite Australian blue heeler kids show, Bluey. The one of many, correct?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, everybody loves Bluey for sure, but to call it everyone's favorite Australian blue heeler.
If you get more specific, it's harder to say you.
But I don't think you need to make it hard on this one. I think parents and kids love Bluey.
Here's something interesting. I have a family member who will not let their children watch Bluey because of the potty humor.
Okay, that's like Disney even won't play some of the episodes. Yeah, because of the potty humor. Yeah. And I have a question. Do they watch any other kids' TV show? Because the potty humor is strong with children these days. I swear.
I think it's just the blatant like openness about things like the potty, and I know that we're talking about kids stuff. I guess I could say the bathroom since we are all in fact adults, so I don't have to say the potty.
We're talking about kids things, but we are adults. Yes.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
But I think they're just so open about it. Like it's just something they do. They are, taking a wee or pooping or whatever, and it's just a normal part of life, which it is.
Right. Well, did you guys all grow up with like euphemisms? And I feel like kids, at least my kid, doesn't use.
No, I've never. What's a euphemism, Steph?
for bat. I don't want to make this whole episode about bathroom words, but yeah, it's just like euphemism for bathroom words, like tinkle. I wasn't allowed to say the proper terms. I don't even know if they're proper.
We use the Japanese word in my home because people here in Utah wouldn't understand it. Which that word is shishi.
Okay.
But and that's all fine and good until you have a fish, and you have a hard time saying the word fish and shishi separately. Like it's the same word. And so when shishi's in the corner and your mom tells you to go clean it up and you're 3 years old, apparently you do something bad to the fish.
Oh, poor fish.
You cleaned up the fish. You did what you were asked to do. I mean,
my
fairness.
daughter's fish was named Tuna, which was a little on the nose.
Yeah, a little on the nose there. That's okay. My youngest, everything he gets, he names Ben because that's his name. So he got him a baby doll one year, and it was Ben Jr.
Oh,
We got him a stuffed lion, and it was Ben the lion. Like, he's just not super creative with the naming.
I hope he has like 4 boys or 4 girls, and they're all Bens.
Pulls a George Foreman.
Benjamina.
Yeah.
Benhilda.
Like, yes, Bluey. Where did Bluey come from? We know where Bluey came from.
Yeah, Australia.
But it felt like it came from like out of nowhere and just arrived on Disney Plus when it came out, when Disney Plus arrived on our doorsteps and TV screens.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like wasn't Bluey on Netflix before it was on Disney Plus?
Was it? I don't know.
I feel like it was.
Netflix does have a bunch of great kids TV shows. A
lot of the Disney titles were on Netflix before Disney Plus came along, so it could very well have been on Netflix.
And it also helps that the episodes are 7 minutes long or 8 minutes, and you don't have to put a lot of time and energy into it.
Well, and I have this theory that that's just the amount of perfect time for an adult to deal with a kid's show. And that's part of why people love Bluey, is because I'm not sitting here watching a half hour, 22 minutes or whatever the commercials make it be, of kids comedy.
Yes.
I get 7 minutes. It's adorable. It's endearing, and I'm out.
I read like a Facebook status, whatever, about how Bluey's parents are always playful with the kids, and how that's kind of been a struggle for some people, because who has time to just play with their kids every day, all day throughout the day? But when you look at it as like 7, 8 minute increment, 10-minute increment, like they're like, we can do that with our kids. We can spend 10 uninterrupted minutes with our kids. So it's kind of like a good interval too, to be like, hey, like you're seeing 10 minutes of a episode that we can do all day. Not necessarily something we can do.
I want to know what adult has 10 uninterrupted minutes right now.
Okay, that's fair. It takes a lot of time, or not a lot of energy, to imagine with a kid. When did imagining get so hard?
When we got a lot of machines and things that do it for us. So
That's fair.
Yeah.
I did also make these guys pick their top 3 kids shows that they like to watch with their kids. And it can't be Bluey, because we all know Bluey's top of the list.
Wow. You did not give us that rule when you asked us.
Oh, sorry. It can't be Bluey. I like to keep you guys on your toes. I sent you the wrong link for this podcast initially. Keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's good. You want to make sure we're paying attention.
Always.
Yeah.
Always pay attention to me. And you'll be fine.
It encourages communication.
Yes.
It's what it does. Am I in the right place?
Yeah. We started this saying on Movies That Make Us, on the episode that premiered actually the day before this episode will premiere. We've already recorded it. We're ahead of the game.
Oh, the magic of podcasting.
But the phrase that we've come up with is stepping away from greatness to allow others to be great. And I feel like that's what you're doing there, Steph. Stepping away from greatness to allow us to be great, right?
Give us some room to grow.
Exactly. I was going to say, meet me at my level, but I'm not going to go that far.
Steph, I can't reach your level. It's too high.
It's true. What can I do?
Yeah. Do you want us to share our favorite series now? Is that where you...
You guys, it's been a long day. Yes, I would love you to.
Well, let me ask you, did you have a specific idea as to what a kid's show is?
That is a
Because
really good question.
yes, because there's a lot of definitions in there.
No, I want you to go wild. I encourage creativity on our show.
All right. All right. I am very popcorn when it comes to the kids shows that I like to sit and watch with my kids. Like I want it to be entertaining for me as well. And so most of the shows, well, the three that I picked, none of them are educational in any way. So
That's
I just want to
interesting.
preface that a little bit. But the three that I picked that I enjoy sitting down and actually watching with my kids, I really do enjoy Spidey and His Amazing Friends, and that can be somewhat educational, but it's still very popcorny. And it's another one that they've broken down into smaller episodes, and I like how they work together and they problem solve and things like that. So I enjoy watching that with my youngest. Um, we also really enjoy, and I'll get hate mail for it, and I don't really care, but we also really enjoy Teen Titans Go.
I love Teen
Um,
Titans
I
Go.
think it's hilarious.
But talk about potty humor.
Yes, I mean it. Yeah, it would embarrass Bluey the amount of potty humor in Teen Titans Go.
Disney
And then
Plus would probably have to censor at least half of it.
yeah, it's on HBO Max though, so it's fine.
Is
They
it? I
don't
thought it was
censor
on
anything on
Hulu.
HBO Max. It is on Hulu as well. So all of the Warner Brothers DC stuff is on HBO Max, and some of it's also
Okay.
on Hulu.
Until they cancel it all, but that's a whole nother episode.
Right. Teen
I'll
Titans Go,
get.
I think, has already been canceled, so it's safe. It's just the old episodes at this point.
Oh,
I do think.
they've deleted old episodes. Don't count them as safe.
I think they've come back after it's been canceled at least once.
Well, in the
And
movie,
It's
oh, go ahead.
very like fourth wall, like talk
Yes.
crap. Yes.
Teen Titans Go to the Movies is one of my favorite kids movies because it breaks that fourth wall a lot. It has a ton of jokes that my kids don't get, and they're not inappropriate jokes. They just don't get them because they don't know the backstories to the joke, but they still think it's funny. And anyway, I enjoy Teen Titans Go.
They did this whole bit about the different Jokers, and they
Mhm.
talked about how Jared Leto was Robin was Jared Leto dressed up as Jared Leto.
I saw
Leto
that.
Joker. And it's the funniest thing because no one likes Robin and not many people like Jared Leto Joker.
Yeah.
So it fit well.
It fit well. Yeah. So, but that's another one. And then the third one that I really like, that my kids don't watch as much as they used to, but Gravity Falls. We really enjoyed that one.
I've heard
So
good things about that one.
I've never
It-
really watched that one.
it's really good. It's a fun kid show. I mean, it's up there in my opinion with like Phineas and Ferb, that kind of quality and storytelling, but it's also kind of creepy and supernatural. So it kind of brings in that aspect that is fun to share with the kids as well.
I had
So
my friend describe it like Supernatural, but for children.
yeah, which is about my speed for supernatural.
Yeah.
So
Mine too.
I actually watched the first 5 seasons of Supernatural, and I'm not a horror guy. Like,
Right.
and I have a hard time with that. The trick was, I think that year I made a bunch of cosplays for my kids and just different things, and so I would put it on while I was watching those. And there was always like a sound for a jump scare, and my head was always down working on something when that happened. So when I looked up, they had already cut away from whatever it was that was scary. And so I could handle it at that point.
Yeah, that works. You can figure out when the jump scares come on and then find a way to avoid them. That's the way
I
to
like
do it.
the hacking of the TV shows.
Yeah,
We should do an episode on that.
an episode on how to hack TV shows.
Yes.
Except Marley would not like it if we tried to hack Supernatural.
Supernatural.
I don't
That
think
is
she'd
that is
appreciate that
fair.
at all.
What kind of family cosplays have you done? Because that's very cute.
So not family themed, but my kids,
Okay.
when they were younger, they always wanted to go to FanX or Comic Con in costume, and so it was
Cute.
always something or other. I love making armor. I've
Nice.
never like learned how to do it. I like to take a problem and solve it, and so it's like, oh, there's a garbage can. I can turn that into a set of armor for my kid, and playing with that.
You are much more creative than I am.
Some days, given the right prompts.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My daughter last year for the first time wore a costume to FanX, She went as Miraculous Ladybug. And she was so
Oh,
excited because the voice actress from
There.
Miraculous Ladybug was there, and she got to meet her, and it was just really neat. But what made her day, and I love people at FanX. We have the best nerd community in Salt Lake, I think, in the entire world. Uh, Also, I don't know a lot of other nerd communities in the world, so really, I'm biased, and I get that. But there were so many people that stopped and told her how great her cosplay was, and that she looked really great and looked really awesome, and it made her whole year. She loved it.
that's so cute.
So when you're at FanX, take a minute to find the littles that are dressed up and tell them how awesome they look because they love it.
It's the best
My
part
5
about going to conventions with kids in
It's
cosplay.
so fun. My 5-year-old was Batgirl last year, and there's this picture of her surrounded by Batman villains, like all grown Batman adult villains, and it's just cute. This little girl, Batgirl. Yeah, it's fun. FanX with kids is fun.
It is, and they get in free under, I think, 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's fun for one day for me. I also like to have a couple of days without the kids.
Well, yes. That's fair.
Well, they need a few hours to see and do everything that they want to see and do, and it is really great during that time. But then they start getting bored, and it's like, okay, now it's time to go home, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's probably not very appropriate for me to take my kids to the panel about the boys.
No, no, nope.
No. We should just
I
avoid
don't.
that.
I don't know that it's appropriate for you to take me to the panel about the boys, Steph.
Jake, if you ever watch The Boys, I'd be fine. We could still be friends, but it would shatter a little bit about what I think of. No, that sounds so rude about what I think about you,
No,
but
it's
it's
okay.
not a Jake show. As
I
far as
know
I
that.
know you as a human,
It's
not a
not.
Jake
It's
show.
not on my schedule to
Yeah.
watch. Just so you know,
Are you not old enough to watch that yet either?
I am not, Brandon. No, I'm glad
I
to
don't
have another kindred spirit. Not old enough to watch the boys. So
I don't think anyone is, but people just do.
yep. So I'm glad we're talking about the boys on our kids show
Yeah,
episode.
on our kids show. That's a good example of what not to let your kids watch, or Brandon and Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kids at heart. Kids at heart. So I'll bring us back to the kids shows then. Along the same vein of Jake, I sat down and I talked to my kids. I was like, "What are your favorite shows?" Because I've got my shows and I've got my kids' shows, and they gave me shows. And I thought, those are good shows, but none of them compare to a show from my childhood, which apparently is before Stephanie was born, or Steph was born. That show taught me so much classic literature, and I've loved it.
I know where this is going, I
I
think,
think
and
I
I'm
do
so
too.
excited.
Wishbone.
Yes.
What's the story? Wishbone. Come wagging another tail. Like that show, I absolutely love that. And there are so many shows or books that I'll be honest today, even today, I fake a little bit about knowing the plot because Wishbone taught me the plot of classic literature.
Yeah. And he did it so much better than Disney does because they kind of stuck with the actual story and Wishbone was great.
The Prince and the Pauper Wishbone is still the best adaptation I've ever seen.
Blew my mind when there were two Wishbones.
Yeah, right?
It blew my mind. Green screen effects and everything.
I'm still partial to the Mickey Mouse Prince and Pauper, by the way, but the Wishbone one is also very good. And it was funny, Brandon, that you mentioned Wishbone because that was one that I thought of, and I thought there's just nothing really like that today for kids. But then there are a few that are pretty good. If you've ever read the I Am series by Brad Meltzer, where he does a bunch of different historical figures, there's a bunch of books. Now there's a PBS series that's based on that, where the kids travel back in time and meet all of these historical figures as kids and things like that. It's pretty good. That one's fun. And my son's watched that a few times, but it still doesn't compare to Wishbone. Classic. That's a great pick.
Yeah, there is something different. Not that I was choosing it because it was educational, and there certainly exist educational shows today, but I just feel like there is so much more. We're going to teach you a lesson by being bright and shiny and stuff like that. And this one was, we've got a frame tale. Wishbone's owner is facing some problem, and Wishbone is like, well, there's this story, and they then jump into the story. But obviously, the owner doesn't know that Wishbone is telling these stories. But
That would have solved all the owner's financial problems if they did know.
they could have started a show about it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like to suggested kids show, you probably were high when you thought about it, because like who would have thought, like, let's make this dog a character in these classic literature stories. Like, they were probably high.
You just changed my entire
No, it's
understanding.
still good and pure.
I don't know, man. There are so many kid shows on, like, especially PBS shows at that time, that Wishbone was tame. That was probably the most sober, not high person in the room. When you got somebody pitching Barney, the purple dinosaur, and Teletubbies, come on, Wishbone is tame compared to stuff like
Okay.
that.
But tell me I'm wrong that the people aren't high when they're writing Teen Titans Go.
Oh, well, yeah, that's probably for sure.
Something, whether it's legal or illegal.
Maybe
There's
they're
something
just
there.
children at heart. I should have that attitude. They're not using substances. They're using their child's heart.
They're high on sugar.
There you go.
So Steph's worldview is, in order to be creative, you've got to be high on
Read a
something.
bunch of musicians' autobiographies and tell me I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, but they're okay. What's your second show, Branden?
All right. This one is less educational, although I feel like it teaches emotional lessons throughout the way. And okay, I'm going to say it is educational. They just don't hit you over the head with the messages. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh man,
So good.
Such a good
another
show.
great show.
I didn't watch that till 2020 during the pandemic.
That's when I watched it too, Steph.
It's so good. Why did we sleep on it so long?
I don't know. I slept on it longer because, as we've established, I'm much older than you. But much.
I love hearing stories about people watching things that I love, that I watched. I didn't watch it when it was coming out. I watched a couple episodes when it was coming out, but shortly thereafter, in the early days of Netflix DVD by mail, I think is when I watched it. And
Netflix turns 25 today, just to continue this we feel old thing.
Yeah.
The day that we're recording, before we get someone comment that it was
Oh,
like a week or so ago, like it's the day we're recording.
This day of our Lord, August the
Oh my
29th.
gosh.
Is that the date?
Yeah, it is August 29th.
I just love, though, hearing that things that I loved hold up, because there's all sorts of things that I will watch. I'm like, this is so good, that I show somebody for the first time and they're like, no, not so great. But
My
Avatar holds up, huh?
My youngest is starting to get into a lot of the anime stuff. Like, she likes Sailor Moon, and while there's still an argument about whether Avatar: Last Airbender can be considered anime or not, I'm not here to settle that. I showed her Avatar, and she was like, yeah, this is fine. But when she got to Korra, the Legend of Korra, she was like, now I'm in. Give me a girl that's kicking butt, and I'm totally in. And I was like, yeah.
That's where my daughter was at with that too. Like Korra, like she liked Avatar and thought Katara was pretty cool. But yeah, Korra, like that was where she was like, this is my Avatar.
I really liked Korra. I think I like Korra better too. I mean, yeah, add the female protagonist, and like the steampunk feel.
Yeah.
It's cool.
They did one of my favorite things that any magic system can do. They take the magic system from a place that is like, okay, this is very medieval, feudal, something like that, and said, okay, what would the natural progression of this be? And extrapolate it out by some years. That's part of, I think, not to go on another tangent, but
I'm going to go there with you. I'm already there with you, Branden.
All right. So that's part of why I like Brandon Sanderson's stuff, is because you get to see that evolution throughout time and just build amazing worlds.
I was thinking Mistborn era too,
yes,
specifically for that example. Yeah, that's why when you said, I was like, no, go. I'm ready. I'm ready to go there. I also have to say, Uncle Iroh is one of my favorite characters of any show ever. I just love him and his character and the way he teaches. Like, it's just good. I wish I had watched it when I was younger, because he would have helped me through a lot of tough times as a teenager.
So before we get a lot of comments on this, it's Uncle Iroh.
Iroh, thank you.
Iroh's the Amazon Mesh Network device.
Okay. But Uncle Iroh. Thank you, Brandon.
My favorite character was Appa, always.
I think the episode that there was only one episode that I cried in that series, and that was the one with Uncle Iroh and his son, and
Mm-hmm.
singing the song for him, and that song just like gets me every time. Like they knew how to get the adults just right while still keeping it entertaining for the kids.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a great series. And that's the great thing. Steph and I discovered it as adults, and it's still really entertaining. So your kids will love it. You'll love it if you've never sat down and watched it. That's a great pick.
So Steph, we haven't heard anything from you.
That was only 2. Did I?
She's gonna make you go through all of them.
We're not going to round robin this.
Oh,
Well,
I mean-
I already ruined the round robining. Sorry.
all right. I will. Yeah, I'll round robin. My kids are 1 and 5, 6. Will she be 6? No, she won't be
Yeah,
6 by the time of this release. But will she?
No.
Anyways, September 7th is her birthday. Just so I guess everyone knows. Anyways, I have a 1 and a 6-year-old. So TV shows have been like youngish but Sesame Street is absolutely one of my favorite kid shows. Their music is still so good. My husband and I joke all the time about, you made it big as a celebrity if they like let you come on Sesame Street.
Yeah.
The Usher ABC song still gets stuck in my head all the time.
I still can't count to 12 without thinking about Sesame Street.
And it's
There was
just
a song, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
yes.
Every time. That's in my head. That's old. That's old, Steph. That was before you were born, that one.
I remember that. I've heard it once.
I heard it once.
So with Sesame Street, when my oldest was little, I loaded up my iPad with just a bunch of their music clips, and he was like 6 months old, but he could grab the iPad, unlock it, because it was before we knew about data security and stuff like that with PIN codes. He would unlock it, he would find the videos app or TV or whatever they called it back then, and pick the Sesame Street. I had like 20 Sesame Street clips on there, and he knew how to get to the exact one that he wanted. Like
That's
music and kids. Like I can't hear some popular songs the same way ever again. Elmo should be singing it.
Elmo, and I feel like as a kid, like I didn't watch Sesame Street, or especially like as a teen, like Elmo was such an annoying little red puppet, and then when you see your kid just like enjoy this little red, like he kind of becomes he found a little place in my heart, like just this little loving puppet that makes kids kind of open up, and they talk about some hard things on Sesame Street. Like
Yeah.
it's just I love Sesame Street.
Yeah, Elmo's interesting. He is obnoxious until you have kids, and then you realize, no, he's just a little kid. And then he becomes endearing because you realize, like, the questions and the curiosity and everything that he has, that's the way it is with a kid. Like, my 6-year-old still asks me a ton of questions and talks nonstop and is basically like Elmo. I can even tickle him and he laughs. So there you go.
You got one that does that?
Yeah.
Wow,
Do
those are
yours
rare.
not laugh when they?
No,
when they-
I'm just kidding.
You brought up your daughter's birthday being September 7th. Let me just point this out, Brandon. You need to know this. This is important. Blake and I, Steph's husband,
my
we have the same birthday, January 9th. My oldest daughter's birthday is September 8th. Their oldest
wow.
daughter is September 7th. So close to the
Yeah,
universe just aligning even a little bit more. It's a little creepy.
it's the Virgos and the Capricorns. They're coming together.
Yeah. So
I'm 9/11, so just saying.
Oh, I'm also a fellow 9/13. So now you feel left out.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's all about
whenever
September.
Jake and Blake get together, they talk about birthdays for hours.
we don't, that is not true. We have never talked about birthdays for hours. It's a very
Isn't
short
our birthday
conversation.
the best?
It may come up every time we get together, but it's a very short conversation just to remind everyone we have the same birthday, but not for hours.
So yes, Sesame Street. Sesame Street also did a thing that's hysterical where they spoofed off of popular TV shows They did like
Mhm.
a Game of Thrones spoof, which
Yeah.
and they did an Orange is the New Black spoof, which is so inappropriate. Like obviously they kept it kid friendly, but it's so inappropriate.
See, okay, I have issues with that. I have
Okay.
issues with that. And so, like, to continue the hot takes from last week,
We love
Yeah.
hot takes here.
I think that's irresponsible.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think so Sesame Street did it with Game of Thrones, and so kids are like, I want to watch Game of Thrones with mom and dad.
Okay.
I'm not old enough for Game of Thrones yet. Like, everything about that show is in my wheelhouse, but I'm just not old enough.
No, not everything is in my wheelhouse. There's a lot in my wheelhouse, but
Okay,
the
okay, that's
incestuous
fair. That's fair.
relationships, not
Yeah.
in my wheelhouse.
Everything but the relationships is in my wheelhouse. Let's just say.
Okay, that's fair.
And so, like, having kids be like, I love Game of Thrones because I saw it on Sesame Street. All of the sudden, you know, it's just recently that streaming services have been like, we'll let you password protect your parental accounts. And
Yeah.
so, streaming kids going into watching stuff. Because how many parents hand their kids an iPad and a pair of headphones?
Yeah.
And,
That
it's
is
like,
how we take
oh,
care
what
of
are you
our
watching
kids.
over there?
Yeah. It's true. To me, well, okay, that might be taking it a little far, but it is in the Joe Camel territory of like, let's get this
Okay.
cartoon character
Mhm.
and get kids into smoking. It's now granted, there smoking is an addiction and health stuff and whatever, and this is just not watching something inappropriate. And I get that there's a difference, but I agree. I think it is irresponsible to say, hey, Game of Thrones is cool, kids, go check it out. And then anyway, if you let your kids watch
Marvel's pretty
Game of
bad at this
Thrones, that's
too.
your choice. But what's that?
Marvel's pretty bad at it too. Deadpool.
Yeah,
Oh,
He shows
yeah.
up in Spider-Man cartoons and stuff like that, and he's hilarious and he's funny and is like, Dad, this was happening when the Deadpool movies were coming out, and I realized at that point Deadpool live action was Fox, and the Spider-Man was Marvel Disney. But my kid was like, I love Deadpool. Can I go see that movie? I'm like,
Oh
absolutely
no.
not.
yeah. My little one, he plays a lot of the Lego Marvel games, and in one of them, Deadpool is kind of the
Yes.
narrator. He's like, "Yeah, him's funny, Dad. Yeah, he is really funny."
I mean, that's not wrong.
Did you know there's a Deadpool movie? I did. You shouldn't know that because it's very different, and it's okay. Parents have to be responsible, and we have to have those conversations. But at the same time, it makes it a lot easier when they don't put that kind of content in, so the kids are like, "Hey, what is this?"
As an extreme joke of the universe, my oldest my daughter is a very pious child. And like we were listening to like Uptown Funk, and I think they say damn. Sorry if you have to censor this, me, who's going to be editing this show.
I think we can let that one slide.
And Aria was like,
It's the
Mom,
big
I don't
guns
like
to me.
listening to grown-up songs because they say grown-up words. And I'm like, okay, kiddo, we won't listen to these grown-up songs. Or if I let something
There's got to be a
slip,
Sesame Street version of that song. There's got to
there
be a Sesame Street version.
there's Kids Bop. And Kids Bop I do have a problem with because they make what was All About That Bass was one song that Kids Bop did, which is about wanting to look at someone's big booty. Like my 6-year-old doesn't need to be singing about that. So
At the
yeah,
same
my
time,
daughter
I mean, it
doesn't
is
like
all
grown-up things. So I could just tell her, yeah, Game of Thrones for grown-ups, and she wouldn't want to watch it because
yeah. And my
I
kids are good too. My son tells me all the time, "That's inappropriate, Dad." Like if I'm scrolling through TikTok and one of the words comes up that it's like, "Dad, that's inappropriate. You should stop watching TikTok now." My phone away. All right.
it's like kind of obnoxious, but also like I should enjoy this while she still wants to follow my rules.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't
Once they
even
reach a
start.
certain age, you have to start making sure that you know what leverage you have over them to get them to follow your rules.
Yeah, what can you start taking away? Like what?
Or
Water.
what do you have to give them so
Yeah.
that you can then later take it away?
Yeah. I'm all
Parenting
for it.
tips here.
Yep.
Wow, these are some hot parenting takes.
We gave my son a cell phone last year. My 13-year-old a cell phone last year. His grades were terrible, but we found that we had no leverage over him, and so he was like, "I don't care." But we gave him that phone and tied it to his grades. Straight
Oh,
A's the second semester.
Yep.
that's a smart move. I'm gonna
I
like
got
put
a
that away in my
lot of yard work done this summer by my son because we got him an Xbox Series X. We're like, "We'll get it for you, but you got to do this before you can have it." And he did because that's what he wanted to do. Kid's amazing. Already played through all of Elden Ring. I have no idea
Wow.
how. That game is hard. But anyway, I'm not good at gaming, so there you go. That's why they don't have me on at Cutscenes and Cupcakes ever.
I've wanted you to stream with us so bad, and you've always said no.
Because I'm really bad.
I wanted you to play Among Us. You could play Among Us.
Come on, they did a side quest last time that was card games.
Yeah, I
Yes.
could do card games. That was exciting.
Non-face
mission
card
card
games.
And I appreciated that it was non-face card. I think I commented on your Facebook post about
You
it.
did.
So, all right, whose turn? I've done my 3. Do you want me to keep mining more?
Yeah, go. It's your turn again.
It's my turn again. My youngest daughter really likes Sailor Moon. That's one that she enjoys. I haven't watched it though, so I don't know if it's any good. So I don't watch that one with her. She also likes Owl House. Have you guys heard of that one?
Owl House is fun.
It's a weird one.
It's very weird.
It wouldn't be so weird except there's this one owl door thing that just looks really gross every time.
I think I like your daughter. She's very like into these feminist cartoon shows, and I'm cool with that.
I'll be honest, all of my daughters are pretty feminist.
Love
My
it.
sons too, by the way.
I love it. I'm here for it.
Have they watched She-Ra?
Yes.
She-
The
was
Netflix
fun.
adaptation.
Yep, she loves She-Ra. And she even has an old like 1980s style t-shirt that She-Ra the shirt's actually new, but it's an old style. That's what I meant by the old shirt. And we got her a couple of Funko Pops that are She-Ra for Christmas, so she enjoys that one quite a bit.
That was one that surprised me. Like, I watched it one day with my daughter when we were both homesick, pre-pandemic. So it was just like a cold. We were both homesick, and it's like, Mom had to go somewhere. Let's turn on Netflix and binge something all day. And we watched the entire first season of She-Ra, and it was like, oh, this is good. This is not what I was expecting, but
Yeah.
but it is what I wanted.
Aria's been a little bit too young for it, but I'm excited for when she gets there.
Yeah, it's good. The old She-Ra was basically like, how can we make a girl version of He-Man, which is what they did in the 80s was, hey, here's a boy version, let's make a girl version. And there wasn't usually any more thought into the process than that. And so the characters weren't always very good, but this new version is pretty solid. So
All right, I'll save you, Jake.
thank you, because I've done my 3. I didn't know what we were doing. Obviously.
I'm okay with awkward silence. So
yes, it's great for podcasts. Awkward silence is the best for podcasts.
You know, the trick is I use Overcast, and they have Smart Speed that strips out all the silences. It makes my podcasters just sound so much smarter. It's amazing. There's no weird gaps. But so my next show, and this is one that I think that is something that we are gonna be seeing a lot more of, because we saw it with this one, we've seen it with another one on Disney Plus, but Baymax shorts or Baymax, the shorts, the 7 episodes, and then the Groot ones. I haven't watched that yet because I'm waiting to watch it with my son, who's watching things in timeline order.
adorable.
But the Baymax shorts, they are just sweet vignettes into the life of Baymax, and as he helps people overcome this issue or that issue, and whether it's helping Aunt Cass run the cafe, or helping someone overcome a fear of going to a pool. Like they're just adorable shorts that I can't say enough about. Like, this is the kind of quality programming, so it's highly produced and good wholesome messages,
right, and
not too long not long enough to become annoying.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Baymax shorts a lot. I haven't watched the I Am Groot shorts yet either.
I haven't either.
Not because I'm waiting for someone to get through timeline order, but I just haven't watched them. I have watched both episodes of She-Hulk, so I'm
priorities.
Complete failure.
We watched Forky Ask a Question.
Okay.
The Forky shorts.
I have a real problem with Forky.
Oh, yeah?
He's a spork. Let's start there. Not a fork.
Well, that's why he's trash.
Well,
true.
And he is trash. Anyway, Forky was fine.
I didn't know you had such strong feelings about
I really don't. It just bothers me. bothers me that he's not a fork and they call him Forky. He should be called Sporky. And I get that she's the one that named him and she's a little kid and little kids do that kind of stuff. But it enrages me when kids do it too. So it's fine.
Did you have a problem when Boo calls Sully Kitty and he's not a kitty?
No, because that's adorable.
Oh,
Don't
Jake's the
you
adorable
dare.
gatekeeper over here.
I am. Yep.
Oh, my show Octonauts on Netflix
Okay.
is super
Octonauts is a
fun.
good one.
See, it's fun. I feel like most mine that I really like are more educational.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. I'm not especially smart. But Octonauts is super fun and I really enjoy deep sea stuff. And so it's cute. It's weird that one character's a freaking turnip. Why? Oh, we don't know.
Have you ever noticed their logo kind of looks like Hydra?
It does.
Yes,
Totally
I
does.
have. Well, I realize
Where
it
does that
now.
fit in
but
the
I'm
MCU timeline, Octonauts? Where's your son watching that in the MCU timeline? The leader's one time going to just turn and say Hail Hydra, and it's going to be all over. Whoa.
Oh.
There's me holding hands with Forky. Move my chair out of the way.
I think I have one of my daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't hate on.
Listen, I'm sorry that I said anything about Forky. I apologize.
See, the secret is Jake's just trying to get comments. Like he's one of those like radio shock jocks that's just like, I want to shock people into commenting on my stuff.
Yes.
Branden, you may be the first person that's ever compared me to a radio shock jock.
Oh my.
I'm a regular Howard Stern for sure.
Heard it here first, folks.
Jake is the Howard Stern of the group. We've determined it.
Oh my goodness.
My last, because you did 3, didn't you, Branden?
Probably.
you
I've
have
got
another?
I've got a whole list.
I wanna
I've got
hear
a whole list. Daniel the Tiger's Neighborhood. Just because it's kind of what you were saying with music, like great music. I can't tell you how many times we've sung in my house when you get so mad that you want to roar. And now that my daughter's a little bit older, she just roars at me as I start singing that. She's
Nice.
like, "You're not going to finish that. I'm going to roar first." So, but it connects you with your kids in such a way because it's Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, right? And
Yep.
Daniel the Tiger was a character on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. But Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is hard for children to watch right now because they expect media to be very different. And so it's just an updated version of it. And then once they get into Daniel the Tiger, and I tested this, once they get into Daniel the Tiger, then you can pull up the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and they're more into it because they know the characters in the make-believe land and they know the and they know the music and the songs.
Yep.
And so you can transition from there, but you have to start with Daniel the Tiger.
Yeah, it's hard to go straight Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood with a kid today.
If you kind of think about it,
brilliant.
how were we into that as children? Like it's this older dude.
It was that and like Sesame Street that were on. So you'd watch
That's
Sesame
true.
Street and then you'd watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And what was really great about Mr. Rogers, honestly, truly as a kid, is he didn't talk to you like you were a moron. He was like the only adult in your life that didn't talk to you like you were not smart. Like you were valid, you were important, and what you were feeling and thinking was important. And that was so different for kids at that age. I don't think that's the case now because we've had multiple generations of those kids that have grown up and have kids of their own now, that it's more common for, I think we're a bit more like that with our kids, generally speaking. But when I was a kid, kids were seen and not heard. If you had to be one or the other, it was seen and not heard, but preferably neither seen nor heard would be the choice. and Mr. Rogers, like both my parents worked, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with both of your parents working, and I respect the heck out of both of them because they did what they had to do to put a roof over our heads and take care of us. But that meant I spent a lot of time with a babysitter or a lot of time on my own. And so having someone who would kind of listen to me through the TV was a connection. So
that's really tender.
that's why. But I think you're right, Brandon. I think today it's a lot harder for kids to connect with Mr. Rogers just because it is old.
Well, and think about it. When we were kids, we learned how to read time based on what was going to be on TV.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to sound really old when I use this phrase, but kids today, they don't have that. They don't have that that same need to learn that because everything's on demand. Everything is
Yep.
click and
Mhm.
go. YouTube. I was thinking about this a lot with the kids shows. My kids watch a lot of YouTube.
Yes.
And my older kids are, they watch the people playing games and stuff like that, which, that's fine. But my daughter watches these people that create stories with their Barbies, and they are
Yes.
weird. They're weird
Yes.
stories. And there's no redeeming value to the
Anya and
stories.
Elsia.
Oh my gosh, I can't stand Anya and Elsia. Like,
Yeah, I
bad.
can't remember the names,
bad.
but yeah. And it's just like they are so sucked into these quick little fast moving, not necessarily paced or fast moving, but fast paced clips and vignettes that just they don't have to pay attention for too long. And I know this is making me sound so old because this is the exact same thing that they were saying when I watched the X-Men 92 cartoon, that it was rot in my brain. But it's different when a media company has to create it versus and I know that a lot of companies on YouTube are media companies. Heck, Age of Geek, we're media, right?
right.
But it's different when somebody has some kind of fiduciary responsibility to shareholders to not create complete garbage than when you're independent and you can make all those decisions yourself.
Yeah.
And there are more options.
Yeah.
Those two things combined. And why would somebody watch something slow like Mr. Rogers?
Right. No, I agree.
I will say X-Men 92 did not rot my brain. That taught me
And
to be much more understanding and accepting and understanding the concept of the other and not being scared of that. Like, it was pretty big.
it also still to this day has one of the most bitchin' theme songs.
Yeah. And that has to make a comeback with Disney's continuation of X-Men 92. They've got to use that theme song. Even
Well,
if they
you notice in the
update it.
MCU, in Doctor Strange, in that one scene, you
Mhm.
you get those bars. And I want to say in Miss Marvel, when they start talking
They
about
do.
stuff,
They
that
do.
yes,
It's
they,
very faint, but I remember because I was like, they are taking all the ambiguity away with that little bit, and I was like, "Oh man,
if
this
you
is
know,
so
you know.
awesome." And if you don't know what we're talking about, then go watch Miss Marvel. Ignore all the haters and just go watch it because it
It's
was actually a
great
really
show.
great series.
Oh,
Great
I was
show.
gonna say just go find the X-Men theme song on YouTube.
Well, yeah, you can do that too, which
Okay,
is a
sorry.
great thing to do as well. Um, what else do you have on your list, Brandon? I'm interested. These are great things. I'm enjoying talking about these shows and remembering a lot of them. And
Yeah. So another one that is just as much for adults as it is for the kids is Phineas and Ferb.
yes,
So good.
Dan Poffenmeyer. I don't know if you guys how much time you spend on TikTok, but
way
he
too
does.
much. Way
Okay,
too
good.
much.
Bad
Okay,
question to ask.
but he's got a pretty good following there on TikTok, and he's pretty funny on there, and he very clearly is just an entertainer. He's not
Hmm.
a kids show creator. He's just an entertainer.
Yeah,
Like I I don't know anybody else who could have made a song about aglets that taught me as an adult what the word aglet was, because I'm not in the tri-state area to get my memory wiped.
yeah. So we all still know what an aglet is,
It's true.
which before that I had no idea.
And probably wasn't concerned about.
Well, no, but now I do know, and so it's a neat little trivia fact. You know it's going to come up sometime. What are the things called that you put your shoelaces through? Aglet. I know. Uh, I love Phineas and Ferb, and I love Dan Povenmire. Like, he is one of the best TikTok accounts to follow on TikTok, just because his stuff is and he's always responding to people that comment or tag him in their videos, and I just think he's great. He just seems to have a great personality, and that's why it comes through in his show.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the things that we've been talking about tonight have been wholesome. Like kid shows mean that they're like the good kid shows in our minds are the wholesome ones, right? Like
Well, and
we
that's
have
Well, except for Teen Titans Go. I don't know how
Well,
wholesome that one is. Sorry.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. The kids in Phineas and Ferb are weird kids, but that's kind of something we see a lot now with kids these days. But like the weird kids aren't rejects as much anymore. And obviously there's still issues everywhere. But like a kid who dresses up as a pancake is like going to be not made fun of. Like weird kids are getting their time in the sun. That's not a phrase. Their time in the light. Like I like that.
They're having fun in the sun.
I don't know.
Their time
I
in
just
the
my kid is going to be very weird, so I take a little bit of like I'm glad that
I
maybe she won't be the weird kid with no friends.
we will say stuff to my son and tell him that Ben will say, "Hey, you're weird" or something. He's like, "Yeah, but in our family, weird is really good. So that's okay because we're all
Oh,
weird." I'm like, "You are absolutely right." And it makes me proud every time he says it because I want my kids to be like, "Yeah, we're weird. That's fine." And it's
yeah.
cool. And I
Being
think it's
weird is
easier to
great.
be cool and weird
Yes.
nowadays. It definitely was not okay to be weird when I was a kid in any way.
got left out of so many things because I was the weird kid.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think the wholesomeness is like a huge theme. Yeah, for all these shows and things that we want to see our kids watch too.
so the other part of the question that you asked us, Steph, is what are some shows that you won't let your kids watch? So is the other side of that the shows that are not super wholesome?
Yeah. I mean, I guess.
I don't know.
The
What do you
two the
go
two
ahead?
that I thought of are Blippi. I don't like
Oh my
Blippi.
gosh.
I
Yeah.
don't like Blippi at all. And in fact, it's cuz some of the stuff he does is unwholesome. Or
It's because
anyways.
you have a very pious child.
That is
Yeah.
true. Well, and also I don't we shouldn't have an episode about Blippi. But the fact that he doesn't even go to his own live shows is so aggravating. It's just
Yeah.
like cash grab. So Blippi, come on, be better.
Okay. Blippi is one that I don't particularly care for either. So I'm
Yeah.
good with that. Um, one that we had to outlaw early on as our kids were getting into YouTube was FGTV. Have you guys heard of that YouTube channel? So it started during the big Skylanders craze. The boy was really into Skylanders, so he was Skylanders boy and Skylanders girl, and they were playing a lot of Skylanders with
I
their
think I've
dad.
seen it.
Yeah, and then they went into family gaming, and now it's FGTV because Skylanders doesn't. It's not a thing anymore, and they were so obnoxious. Like they never said anything, they weren't like swearing or anything like that, but they were just mean to each other and like making crass jokes and things like that. We're like, nope, we're done with FGTV. So that was one that was outlawed at our house just because it brought no value whatsoever
Yeah.
at all.
A show that I've got one that's wholesome that we don't let the kids watch. We used to let the kids watch it, and to be honest, my kids are old enough now, with the exception of the baby who doesn't realize that he gets a choice in what he watches. Is Caillou.
I can't stand Caillou. So yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a wholesome enough show. It's the grandma and Caillou going and doing fun things, but it is. We found that it was a problem because when my son would watch Caillou, he would just be selfish. He would want what he wanted, when he wanted, how he wanted, and expect the
Yeah.
adults around him to just do it.
And be very whiny about it.
Yes. And so it's like, Caillou's not a good role model. So
Mm-mm.
The amount of online hate that there is for Caillou and that show is just mind-boggling to me. I, somehow our kids never got into Caillou. We never watched it, so I know nothing about Caillou except that there are so many parents that are in the same boat as you two that it's like, no, we will not watch Caillou. It's an awful, awful show.
Well, on the same line as Caillou, one that is, I guess, overall wholesome, but I've got so Peppa Pig. I'm not a fan of Peppa Pig. Again,
Okay.
I think she's whiny. But also, for being a pig family, they are so fat shamey. And it drives me bananas. And if you want to watch something by the same creators that's better, Ben and Holly's is great.
Okay.
Peppa
I
Pig is annoying.
Yeah, we missed the Peppa Pig train as well, which I guess is an okay thing.
It's not bad. It's just not good.
I think one of my kids, when they were a baby, somebody gave them a Peppa Pig book, and that is the most that we've had anything to do with Peppa Pig. So I don't know.
The
I
trick for
did,
us was when it moved to Amazon off of Netflix or something like that, and my kids didn't realize that we had Amazon Prime, and they didn't know how to navigate that app. They kind of stopped watching that, and it just fizzled out on its own until they realized that they could watch Amazon Prime on the Echo Show, and then it
Oh
made a
yeah.
reoccurrence.
when I was younger like teenage years, my younger siblings got into SpongeBob, and my parents were like, "No, no SpongeBob."
My wife has
Absolutely not.
banned that from our house too.
And my wife said, "I never understood why my parents were so anti SpongeBob until our kids started watching The Adventures of Gumball." And she's like, "Nope, I get it now." Because that to us is SpongeBob. Like Gumball is the dumbest show I have ever seen. And I don't even get the whole family dynamic. Half of them are cats, half of them are bunnies, and one of them's a fish. I don't even know what's going on there. It's weird, but it is
Hey,
the most
mixed families
obnoxious
aren't weird,
show.
Jake.
Yeah,
M-
Jake.
Okay,
I
I don't
wasn't
know.
allowed to watch SpongeBob either.
Yeah, Gumball is the new SpongeBob. At least at our house, we're like, no.
SpongeBob is making a reoccurrence though. My daughter's 5-year-old friend just had a SpongeBob birthday party. Aria loves SpongeBob.
Yeah,
My
SpongeBob.
husband encourages it.
There was a time in the 90s, in the mid to late 90s, where stuff kept coming out that you thought this is going to be a phase that has somehow stuck around for 30 years. Like Pokemon, Power Rangers, SpongeBob, all of these things that came out that you're like, oh, this will pass. No, none of it has. I don't understand. Pokemon I get because there's new iterations and there's new games, and Power Rangers too to a certain extent, but SpongeBob, it's the same stupid sponge and starfish, and I don't totally get it. I don't get the love affair with SpongeBob. If it's your
So
thing,
now
that's cool.
we're at the point where the people who grew up on this content are
Yeah,
creating the content, and so they get to they're being John Favreau. They're playing in the toy box that they had as a kid.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. I think that's exactly right. So the other one that we don't like that our kids watch, Big City Greens. Have you guys seen Big City Greens at all?
Oh, is
Yeah.
that a soccer one?
No, it's this
Oh, that's the big green.
yeah, no, Big City Greens, it's this family called the Greens that they're farmers and they live in the middle of the big city, and I don't know, but my son has learned so much from that show. Stuff about trucks, stuff about how some
Mm.
people are missing a finger and they only have 9 fingers because the dad only has 9 fingers. And like there was a phase of a few weeks and we were finally like, "You've watched too much Big City Greens," because he'd be like, he'd spout out some weird thing. We're like, "How do you know about that?" "Oh, Big City Greens." We're like, "No, the show is just it's just a weird
It's weird.
show." It's if I could compare it to anything, it's like Simpsons for kids.
Also wasn't allowed to watch Simpsons as a kid.
I wasn't
We
either.
watch Simpsons like every night at my house.
I do feel like it was kind of a Utah mom thing to not allow Simpsons for kids.
You
Yeah.
know, my mom was anti Simpsons until she was on the PTA, and she learned that the national PTA actually endorsed the Simpsons
Oh,
because
interesting.
Bart would do something dumb at the end during every episode, basically, and by the end of the episode, he would learn a lesson. And so my
Oh.
mom was like, "Okay, I'll let you watch this and watch kids learn lessons." And
Yeah.
that's how we were able to do it.
The
I think
more
she
you know.
just enjoyed
Yeah.
it, but you know,
And I think in the earlier years it was much more Bart centric. It's become much more Homer centric, and he doesn't seem to learn the lessons as well as Bart does.
well, you can't be on the air for so long if you learn your lessons.
Yeah,
That
exactly. Exactly. So anyway, there you go,
yeah.
Steph. There's our favorites and the ones that we don't watch or let our kids watch.
It is interesting how far kids shows have come. Like we talked about Mr. Rogers, the origins kind of kids show. Sesame Street was definitely one of the first kids shows too, and so it like Branden was saying, it's amazing to see how far everything has come and like how different and diverse everything is. So
Yeah, it's true. It's a good thing.
it is a good thing, and it's good for parents too, so we don't have to watch the same old stuff over and over and over and over and over again.
Hmm.
And we wanted to talk about kids shows today because Branden is coming on our network, and he's doing a kid. Is it kid centric? Is that an okay thing to say
Yeah,
about it?
I think kid centric is fine. At first, I was very very anti calling it a kids show because I'm like, no, I'm just making stories. Uh, but the more stories I make, the more I realize, no, this is a kids show. This is a show. This is actually a show for the parents, but it's so the parents can get 10 minutes of quiet from their kids without handing them a screen.
Mhm.
So the show is called KidBot Stories for Kids. You know, got to get the SEO in there, but KidBot
Yep.
or KidBot Stories, and it is AI generated stories that I come up with a premise for. So I have the AI generate a story prompt for me, and then I come up with the idea for the story and like the details on how that story prompt is going to work. And then together the AI and I write the story because the writing AIs right now are not good enough to like spit out actual quality stories yet. And so it takes a lot of babysitting, and it's more of a writing aid versus a story generator. But because it's for kids, we play it like the AI has written all the stories. I do a little banter with a text to speech voice, and we throw the stories back and forth. So for the kids, they think the story has happened in 30 seconds. The generations happened in 30 seconds. It takes me about a half hour to write a 10-minute story. So, you know.
I love this idea so much. When you first told us about it, I just thought this is brilliant. AI is such a big thing right now that is coming into every aspect of our lives, and this is kind of a fun, cool thing that we can take advantage of AI for to develop
Mhm.
these stories. But then you shared the first episode with us, and I was like, "This is just gold." I mean, it is just the interaction between the AI voice and yourself and, um, KidBot, the way that you interact with KidBot, and then the story that comes out, and it's just really, really good. Like, it's something that I've turned on for my kids, and they enjoy it quite a bit because they're just fun stories, and it's just interesting and unique. So,
Well, and I do think that's something that's surpassed the years is kids enjoy being told stories. And to be able to do that screenless is also something that I think all of us parents, yeah, I will speak for myself. I need to be doing better at.
Well, and where this story or where this podcast came from actually is my daughter listens to story podcasts on her Google Mini in her bedroom. And I do podcast consulting as well. And so one night I was on a consulting call and my daughter was listening to me talk to them over Zoom and stuff like that. And after I hung up, she says to me, she's 6 years old, but like she made a really good point here. She said, "Dad, you haven't podcasted in like forever. It's been like a year.
mm,
But for a 6-year-old, that's
That's
forever.
forever.
Why do people still listen to you?" And I'm like, you know what? That's harsh, but that's fair. And so I said, all right, let's come up with a podcast that I can do. And she's like, I want a bedtime story podcast.
Oh,
And so I mean, it's hard to say no to that. And so
right.
we sat down and we thought about it for a little bit. And I said, what if I used this AI that I've been playing a lot with uh, to help me write these stories? And she thought, oh yeah, that's good as long as you're reading the stories. And I thought I can do that. And so that's where this came from. And we just, I've been making these stories, and it's just kind of fun to run them by my kids. I've slipped their names into them. I've
oh,
got options for people like if somebody wants their kid's name slipped into a story. I've got a place on the website where you can go to dedicate a story to your kids.
that's
And
so cute.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I try to have some kind of lesson to learn by the end of it, like some obstacle that they have to overcome and lesson to learn. The only one that haven't done that, and my daughter tells me that I have to change it, is a story that Steph recommended the plot line for, uh, called The Dragon and the Princess, about a dragon and princess con artist team that are scamming the knights and the royalty out of things. And my daughter did not love the fact that story, which I haven't recorded yet, so
They
I'm
were
probably gonna go
naughty.
change that. They were naughty and they got away with it.
That's fair.
She
That's
would really
fair.
love Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The whole thing is about them being naughty and getting away with it. I just think this is so. I think this is great. I'm excited to see or listen to more stories created by KidBot and yourself. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And I think when we listened to it, all of us mentioned how great the AI sounds, but also how great your voice sounds with it. So,
Oh, thank you.
yes.
You can tell your daughter that's why people still listen to you about podcast consulting, because you've just got a great voice to
I
listen
have
to.
a voice. They have to listen to me.
You
That's
gotta,
right.
you're a voice for podcasts.
Yeah.
I have a face for podcasts, that's for sure. Except for you
Right
guys.
there.
You guys actually turn on video.
Yeah, we do. It was a tough choice. I think it drove away a lot of our listeners on Movies That Make Us when they saw me. They're like, wait a
Oh my
second.
gosh.
It's all right.
So yeah, I'm thinking about it, and I would love to see in the comments, because this is the adults watching this for kids, right? Like that's what the audience for this show is. I would love to
Right.
see in the comments for this on the Facebook post or wherever you're seeing this, the Discord community, what you guys think about these stories and how you would like to see them go, because this is such a living thing that we can change them, we can move, and we can do things. And I just want parental feedback, because that's who it is. I'm doing this with AI, so if the parents want to go, I'm thinking about in the Discord. You guys have mentioned this Discord on the show before, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
fairly new, but I've got a channel in the Discord, and I'm thinking about making that the parent-centric place, because 10-year-olds don't want to go hang out on Discord. But the parents, I would
I
love
don't
to
want my
do like
10-year-olds hanging out on Discord, I'll be honest.
Especially not the cutscenes and
fair.
cupcakes Discord.
But I'm thinking about doing some like live streams of this
Mm.
is how I use the AI to write these stories. Here's how you do it. I've been having AI illustrate the stories as well. And so we got a really good one about bunny rabbits coming out that I just have about 10 illustrations for as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Are you? I think it's just amazing what AI can do, and how far it's come. So it'll be great. So it is called KidBot Stories.
Yep, kidbotstories.com. It should be. I recently just changed the title because it was too close to something else, so I changed it. But it should be showing up in the podcast apps, and by the time you hear this, as KidBot Stories.
We're excited to have you be part of Age of Geek Media. This is something very different from any other show that we have, but it's
Yeah.
also really exciting, and it's a whole new audience to bring in. So for the kids, turn on KidBot Stories, and then mom and dad come listen to Age of Geek, and we'll tell you some other stories that.
We'll complain about the kid shows while your kids are listening to a kid show.
Yeah, come listen to us
Exactly.
complain about the kid shows that your kids are not watching because they're listening to KidBot Stories.
Exactly. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're very excited about it.
So,
And we know like you've worked very hard to get to yes.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be working with you guys on this team. You guys have something special here. It's for sure.
thank you. We are hoping to build a great community. So, and that starts by bringing in great people like yourself, Branden. So this helps us out a lot as well. So, Steph,
Yes, and make us a more rounded community, because we got the grown-up stuff, especially if you're listening to some of our other podcasts. So
some of our other, it's cutscenes and cupcakes.
yeah, there we go. I didn't want to name drop my podcast again.
No, you can.
What was the name? Cutscenes and Cupcakes?
Cutscenes and Cupcakes, the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Movies That Make Us, we typically keep it about PG-13.
See, we're spectrum here.
Yeah.
Cover the whole range.
Exactly.
Yeah. But some of our episodes are hard PG-13, just as a just
they use their one swear word.
It's happened before.
Has it ever been you? Okay, sorry.
No, it has not.
For the listeners, that awkward silence was accompanied by a look of incredulity on Jake's face.
It was not. What I like about the group that I'm with on Movies That Make Us, we each have our own very distinct brand, and we all stick with it pretty well. So
yeah, that wouldn't be on Jake brand.
No, it wouldn't. So,
well, you guys, this episode about kid shows ended up being over an hour long. So
My bad.
No.
I think it was fun.
I think we all have strong opinions about children's shows.
Yep.
And about Forky, the spork. But we
He's
appreciate
not a fork. That's the opinion. And that's not an opinion. That's a statement of fact. He is not a fork.
As Branden throws up his Forky picture again.
Look, it's not a negative opinion. It is a statement of fact. He is not a fork.
But we would love it if you guys joined our Discord, joined our community. We're really excited about the things that are coming your way. Check out, we have like a full lineup of podcasts, which is super, super fun. The community itself is really welcoming and inclusive. So that's our goal at Age of Geek, every geek welcome. So bring your geek our way.
And we will be at FanX at the end of this month. So if you're in the Salt Lake City area and you're going to be at FanX, all of us should be there. We're going to be on various panels. Branden's a little bit harder to see. He's a lot of behind the scenes stuff at FanX, but
I do some work for them, but I try to get on a panel here or there.
Yeah. So we're excited to have our community represented there and to be part of that overall larger community as well.
And we got stickers.
We do have stickers, each of our shows and for Age of Geek.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. It's exciting. So look for us. We'll take a picture with you and we'll post it on Instagram, unless you don't want us to post it on Instagram. And
unless you don't want us to take a picture with you.
Right. If you just want to say hi, you don't want a picture with us, that's fine too. We won't have our feelings hurt.
Jake will record your voicemail message that tells people to send you a text.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would happily do that. If you've ever wanted my voice on your phone telling people.
I didn't know you offered that service. I'm definitely going to find you at FanX.
I'm a pretty accommodating person. There's a lot of stuff that you just have to ask. Now, there's a lot of stuff that if you ask, I will still say no. But there's a lot. I mean, I have my limits.
That's fair.
I'm accommodating, but not that accommodating stuff.
I feel like that's a good boundary to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
After FanX, he's going to have a Fiverr job set up, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
A little side hustle.
Perfect. A little side hustle of making voicemail.
Thank you guys for listening. And come back next week to hear more great geek content. I forgot I would blast what we're talking about, but I don't know. I don't have the list in front of me.
I don't have it in front of me either. That's really bad of us to not.
But
This is what happens, Steph, when they leave us in charge of the show and they don't have anyone to babysit us like Marley or Colin.
Our organized people are not here with us tonight.
But it's just the two of us.
But we had fun.
Join in next week when they talk about another great geek topic with another great group of geeks.
Perfect.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Please voice clip that and put it at the end of every episode.
Please don't. Please don't.
Thanks for listening, guys, and thanks for being on our show tonight, Branden.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.